I love that, we have India, Mumbai, Delhi, Encinitas, all online. I love that, we have okay, India, have to Mumbai, Delhi. So that's streaming live now on YouTube. And now let me go ahead and get our recording. Great. Chris, thank you. I saw your chat. I appreciate that confirmation. And we are recording. So, namaste, everybody. For those of you that are physically with us here at the Temple of Joy, what a pleasure to have that direct experience, which we have all been lacking for so many months. We welcome those that would like to join us during our week of events, Tuesday night and Wednesday night, 7 p.m. You're welcome to RSVP and come and take one of the 5 seats that we have reserved for socially distanced, masked, appropriate coronavirus protocols. And for you that are online with us, always a pleasure to experience the world. It's just quite remarkable that in this energy age of Dwapara Yuga, as our guru had talked to, we're really firsthand experiencing that we've moved from the lower forms of Kali Yuga, the more primitive aspects of the physical realm, and we've extended now our awareness that we are more than these physical bodies, that we are energy, that we can tune into that energy, that we can own our own energy. And with that life force, I'll use that label for it, that life force or prana, we can heal ourselves. We can accomplish the ultimate goal of why we came here in these physical bodies in this life to begin with, which is to remember who we are. And more than that, to help others remember who they are. We are saints having a human experience, nothing less. And to the extent that we tune into that higher reality, that we are saints, made in the image of the divine creator, no less capable. The Lord is joy. We're made in that image. We are joy. The Lord is pure love. We are that pure love. The Lord is peace. We are peace. And to the extent that we come to embrace that higher truth and rise our own consciousness through that energy body to its highest state, we can reunite our differentiated soul to the infinite soul from whence we came. And so tonight is going to be to explore some of that, more than explore, to experience it. Because even my own guru, the great Paramahansa Yogananda, had said, in spite of all of his talks and all of his great teachings for 33 years in America, crisscrossing the country and the world, bringing the original yoga as taught by Bhagavan Krishna and the original teachings of Christianity as taught by Jesus, and showing the similarities of the two, he said 2 things which I found were really remarkable. One, don't believe me, have your own experience. It's called self-realization. It's not group realization, it's self. So every one of us are unique. We have a unique thumbprint. There are no 2 of us alike. Not of the trillions of humans who have lived time immemorial and the trillions yet to be born, there will never be another like you. I find that to be a fascinating truth. It's just astounding. He also said, and I find this equally enjoyable when I reflect on it, after all of those talks at Madison Square Garden, at the Forum, and just the largest halls that would hold thousands, and there would be another couple thousand standing outside, not able to get in to a full house. And after all those years, 30 of them, he said to his disciples, "I'd prefer a single soul over a crowd." He said, "But I love a crowd of souls." And so it was true, that he realized that he was speaking to many, and very few were receiving the truth of message that he was bringing. To some, he was an oddity. He was this Swami, this long-haired, ochre-clad Indian that they just couldn't quite comprehend. What was that all about? I mean, I can't even imagine what that would have been like in the 20s, in America, for this young, in his early 20s, to come without a single friend, very little money, never really studied English, the language itself, nor the culture of America. And he came here with that message of unity, the message of yoga, that we are here to heal ourselves. He had often called life a hospital, a place of healing. He also referred to it as a university, a place of higher learning, higher teachings. However one chooses to reflect on it, the truth be told, that by nature of you making the choice to be here tonight, to share in meditation and yogic teachings of these great masters represented on our altar here, that you would make that conscious choice amongst the myriad of choices you could make right now. You chose to commune with God. That, as Guruji would say, means you have very, 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 very good karma. That you, like Anka and I, have been on this path for countless incarnations. It's been said in the Vedas, 1,000,000 incarnations to achieve the state of human consciousness, to move away from the lower forms, the inanimate forms of atoms, probably we're an atom of iron or lead, an amoeba, a single-celled organism, then a multi-cell differentiated organism, perhaps an animal, a fish, a dog, a cat, whatever, ultimately a mammal, and then a human being.
A rock that served as a seed for kirtans.
Exactly. And so it was that, we've been doing this for a very, very, very long time. And equally true is that we've done it together. It is of no surprise that we are together here now. Whether it's our first time to physically be together, or we've been together for years, perhaps here at the temple, or as friends or associates at SRF or Ananda or wherever, the truth is we are resonating to a vibration, a frequency. Our energy body is this wave. And waves carry information. And the information that's shared across waves is non-localized. It's not limited to the space and time limits of most all other referential systems. That what happens here is happening everywhere simultaneously. And not just in this dimension now, as we're learning more and more about, of course, for thousands of years, the teachings from the sages of India have been speaking to in the context of spiritual science, the reality that all knowledge is rooted in the infinite. Now, for those with large egos that spent their life studying and reading books and all of that, and they got their multiple degrees and doctorates and all of that, they might find this to be a little demoralizing to realize that they really brought nothing to the table other than an ability to perhaps either memorize that which they read, and regurgitate it on demand, or if they have a deeper attunement to its essence, its truth, its meanings, and they've internalized it and personalized it, then what they've shown is an attunement to a truth that existed far before they ever even thought about grasping that truth. So it is that the wisdom of the ages are available to all of us all the time. Imagine the time when we move beyond the limitations we are currently saddling ourselves with, when we are able to tune the dial of our mental radio to the frequencies of Jesus giving the Sermon on the Mount in Aramaic in real time. That vibration is in the ether. Can't you hear it? Every wave is propagating in the ether. And to the extent that we could tune the frequency of our dial of our minds to tune into those vibrations, we could receive them, just like a radio receives the waves of radio, and you can hear the DJ, or you can see the television screen, because it's able to tune in to those varying frequencies. Well, Einstein knew this, of course. 1905, he steps off the curb in New York City out of a cab and has this epiphany. Energy and matter are interchangeable. They're really one and the same, expressing themselves uniquely. And so it was, he gave us this wonderful awareness that we are not limited by form and matter, as we had thought in Kali Yuga during the ages of lower frequencies of vibration, lower ability to receive wisdom that was oscillating in the lower frequencies, commonly seen in the lower three chakras. And now we're oscillating in higher frequencies, moving through the heart, the throat, communicating beyond the words, and seeing beyond the limitations of our two eyes with the limits of the retinal nerve, which is only seeing 2% of the electromagnetic spectrum that exists. The 98% that we don't see is every bit as real. And as we move higher and higher into these ages, and tonight we can focus that attention with absolute concentration and devotion at the point between the eyebrows. And as the Bible says, let thine eye be single. And with that single eye, with enough devotion, enough energy, we can penetrate the veil of delusion that separates us from seeing the higher truth, that we are a saint having a human experience. Each week we choose a topic. Anka and I, we tune into the masters. And so what is our topic for the week? And for those of you that were here, you know, for the last 8 weeks we focused on the energy. We began with energy and magnetism. I speak a lot about that. That's my passion, my academic upbringing in physics, so I enjoy speaking of such things. We talked about the energy body, the anatomy of the energy body, and the various channels making up that energy body beyond form. We talked about the intersection of all those nadis into their concentrated, localized areas called chakras. We talked about each of the chakras, the characteristics that they exhibit internally and external. They have sound, vibratory vibrations that are expressing in terms of color, in terms of frequencies, in terms of sounds. They influence external aspects of life, the world in which we live. They influence internal aspects of the body itself. We talked about all of these, all from the Muladhara up to the Sahasrara. And last week, we brought it all home with a satsang on wholeness. Because in the end of the day, we are not a machine. Energetically or materially, we're not a machine. In Kali Yuga, we were told, and many today still live in the realm that believes the human body is like a machine. And doctors that believe that are nothing more than mechanics, like an auto mechanic, who can take the engine apart and he can replace the carburetor, the heart, he can replace the plumbing, an organ, he can reattach an arm, set a bone, but he can tell you very little about the connection of all of that. So we talked about wholeness last week so that we could sort of wrap up the whole concept of the energy body and not just, look at individual pieces, and to understand, even though we spoke each week over the course of those 7 weeks for the 7 chakras, we spoke of the interrelationship between the chakras with each other, so that one could realize that they are not really individualized. They're regional, if you will. This week, what came to us was freedom. That when you come to truly embrace the reality that you are far more than your 5 sense instruments would suggest, you are far more than the differentiated layers of self-definition that those 5 sense instruments would suggest to you, that you're far more than just a man or a woman or a surfer or a husband or a father or a friend or a executive or ... When we stop viewing ourselves from the mechanistic view from which we were taught, our old patterns, and I'm talking even past lives over the course of the last 400 years, from René Descartes, who gave us the system of modern logic, right? I think, therefore I am, he said. And he further went on to suggest that to understand any system, the wholeness, one must take it apart into the individual components making up that system and understand the individual pieces. Of course, we know that to be a gross limitation of reality. But nonetheless, not 60 years after that, science was born, modern, contemporary, classical physics. I'll allow the Encinitas conch shell to go by here. So we'll... I love that sound. Sir Isaac Newton gave us the science of physics, born on that classical Cartesian logical understanding. Classical mechanics is used today to predict the trajectory of a rocket ship sent to Mars, to lob a grenade at your enemy, to predict how the billiard ball will go when you try to hit it into a pocket. It's useful, clearly, and it has been for 350 years, but it's not ultimate truth. The science of particles, of matter, has given us computers. Gave us a lot of freedom. We wouldn't be having this satsang online. Hello, India. Hello, Encinitas. Hi, Susan, Chris. Without it. How much freedom we enjoy. And for 50 years, we were given the advancement of this technology around one predicated mantra that came from the founder of Intel, who was the company that gave us the central processor for our computers that we use, for the most part. I mean, there are other processors out there. But Gordon Moore gave us Moore's Law, and it basically said that every 18 months we can double the amount of transistors we can fit on this piece of silicon at half the cost and get twice the performance. That was Moore's Law. It worked for 50 years. And that's why you were able to, if you were like me in the 70s with the first computer, it cost $6,000, then it had 16K of addressable memory. It didn't have any storage device. They didn't exist for them yet. It had no screen. It had LEDs. The keyboard was toggle switches, not the QWERTY keyboards we enjoy today. And it was $6,000. These rectangular devices that we all carry has more computing power than the supercomputers that we were using when I was doing graduate work at university in the early 70s. It's in my pocket. I can buy it for $300. So we have progressed through this 50-year era with such blinding speed that few of us have been able to even keep up, even those of us that grew up with it and grew in that industry. How many of us have you can really say you understand and comprehend that evolution? It's doubtful many. Is it really necessary? No. I bring it as a point of reference only because Moore's Law worked up until about 3 years ago. About 3 years ago. It was a very interesting thing because computing technology was predicated on one carrier for information, the electron. Because it was that electron that carried the circuitry, whether it was through a transistor, a wire, copper, fiber, it didn't matter. But all of our circuits, all of our diodes, our capacitors, our power supplies, our cooling fans, all of the elements that made up our technologies was predicated on the electron. What was most interesting is we were able to move information really, really fast up until we were able to actually process information faster than the electron could move. The electron proved to be too fat and too slow. And so we are now ushering in a new era of quantum computing. It will transform the next 50 years beyond the comprehension of any of us here. I bring this up because in that journey, expressed outwardly as technology and touching all of our lives through our phones, through our computers, our cars, our refrigerator has Wi-Fi connectivity, not that we use it, but it's communicating with LG that if there's a failure, it can see what's going on remotely. So all the technologies really affected our lives, and it was all predicated on the limitations of the electron, which was a particle. And we have moved the physical material science beyond that limitation. Quantum is taking us now into the realm of spiritual science. For the first time, the physical scientists are beginning to grapple with the same questions and the same challenges that the spiritual scientists, the sages and saints of all religions for millennium have been faced with, beyond the limitations of the material. That we know in the quantum world that it's unpredictable, it's messy, it's fuzzy, it's strange, it's Alice in Wonderland, everything that is upside down and right side up at the same time, that you can be in multiple places at the same time, like Lahiri Mahashaya was, giving satsang to his devotees in his home in Varanasi, while at the same time having a meeting with Babaji, Mataji, and Ram Gopal at the Dashashwamedhi Ghat along the Ganga in Varanasi. As Sri Yukteswar, not 3 days after leaving the body, manifested to this woman. And 3 months later to Guruji in his hotel in Mumbai. Mastering the limitations of the physical realm, owning their own life force to materialize and dematerialize at will, to be in multiple places at the same time. That's quantum. We've known these to be truths. Jesus fed 5,000 on a single loaf and a single fish. The bowl of food just kept refilling. He parted seas. He brought Lazarus back from the dead. Master tuned in to one of the young boys that he had a real attunement to. Thank you, Chris. I love the idea, Master in Calcutta trying to find this young lad. He was taken back home by the parents, much against his own will, really. Wanted to stay with Master. And as many young people in India would die of these diseases, cholera, and all the diseases that would take so many lives, this young boy died, but reincarnated almost instantly, as has been known. Depending on your karma, when you shed the mortal coil, you could reincarnate, assuming the conditions are right. There's another body available, as the egg and sperm reunite, and there's a vibration sent to the ether, and your astral form is there. There's my new body, and you reanimate. And this young boy did that, and Master was seeking to find this young boy, and he's standing on the streets in Calcutta with his hands like an antenna, doing this, feeling his vibration. And he goes to the front door of this house and knocks and says, "Did you just have a child?" "Yes, we did." "A young boy?" "Yes." And I see him, he looked at him, he knew this was the boy. See, we've seen, and through the great masters that have given us the teachings, we have seen truth. We have experienced it. Maybe not directly ourselves. I certainly have not been able to tune in like this, although I'm pretty good at tuning into energy and vibrations, as Anka is in her healing work, as each of you are in your own way, in your own modalities. We know. But we know so much more, too. But when we remain attached to the material, to the body, to the physical, when we remain attached to the mind, our old patterns, our old habits, born of countless incarnations, those sanskars that we carry forward into these bodies to be resolved, all the attachments, all the desires, all the thoughts, they needed to be resolved. And so, by the grace of God, we have as many incarnations as we need to resolve them all. Take your time. But given that, it feels almost impossible to be free, doesn't it? My goodness gracious, do you remember what you were doing in the year 1703? I doubt it. I certainly don't. I barely remember what I was doing in 1963. One of the blessings that the great Lord has given us all is amnesia, right? Because if we were to remember all of those lives and all of those things that we have done, we couldn't possibly live with ourselves. Because within any one of us is the greatest of the great and the worst of the worst. We are here in the midst of heaven and hell. We have within us the most angelic and the most devil. We are all of it. And we learn by rising beyond the limitations of the physical realm, beyond the mind. We learn that only we can make ourselves free. Freedom comes through yoga. Yoga means oneness, union, reuniting your true self, your consciousness, your soul, with the infinite ocean from whence you came. You came from that, you're going to go back to that. You were born from bliss, you're going to return to bliss. That's the good news. The bad news is the in-between part, you got to work through a lot of stuff. So tonight I'd like to share just a couple of things about what we might do to realize that what we are experiencing in life is exactly what we are supposed to experience. Everything in our lives, all of our individual lives, every one of us are experiencing that which is coming to us by the divine as a gift to help us. Everything happens for you, not to you. You are not a victim. Why me is often heard by those of lesser consciousness, by those who have not yet worked through enough, still in the lower energetic forms of the lower chakras, still in the more primitive aspects of material reality, still dealing with fear, confusion, doubt, still suffering. But as we move that energy and we free it to rise through the chakras, as we talked to the last few weeks, we become tuned to that higher reality that we are saints. We are not meant to suffer. That God is with us every step of the way, every moment. We are not alone. He's sitting here banging on our door. Open the door, please. Let me in, let me in. And we're going, please, God, come to me. Right? To begin any journey, one must want to move forward. Where one presently is most important to embrace and understand. Because where one is encompasses everything. How often have we heard, and Anka and I hear this quite frequently, of people that say, I'm moving. I'm going to Hawaii. I'm just tired of this place. I'm going to Portland. I'm going to here. I'm going to there. It's going to be different. Or I'm getting out of this relationship. I got to find somebody better. The outer circumstances are wrong. I'm going to change those, and it's going to make my world right. We have to change ourselves to change the outer circumstances of our lives. We have to own it. As long as we're content with the circumstances as they exist, we'll never be motivated to move beyond it. My parents, God bless them, almost 90 years old, still in the body, still healthy. They don't want to change. I could no sooner talk to them about any of these aspects of truth and reality. Why did Jesus speak in parables? Because as they said, you don't cast pearls before swine. I know it's kind of a crass statement, but nonetheless, it's true. Master himself said, you don't speak spiritual truths to those unwilling or unable or ill-prepared to receive them. You can do more harm than good. I can't have this conversation with everybody that I interact with each and every day. You have to allow people to be where they are, but once they come to realize where they are, they can begin to move to where they can be. Not by changing the outer circumstances, but the inner. It requires motivation. We have to come to realize what motivates us. What makes me get up in the morning? For me, it has nothing to do with the work I do with Hewlett-Packard, how much money I can make, how many bills I have, even the satsang that I might do, or the classes that I help Anka in producing each week, or any of those outer things. To me, it's another chance to talk to God. Each and every day, no matter what I'm doing. Today it was gardening. Anka and I were working on the garden out front, preparing it for its debut someday as a beautiful sacred meditation garden. We'll be able to do satsangs and kirtans out there, and we were lifting boulders and digging dirt and just having a great time, chanting the whole time. And you're looking at the flowers and going, my God, what a beautiful example. This is God's face smiling at me. Or this rock, the shape, the color, the textures. Everything was magic. That's what gets me up every morning. Because his face is infinite. I'll never get tired of it. I'll never get to see all of them. What gets you up in the morning? Find out what motivates you and focus on that. I will tell you one thing that motivates all of us: the avoidance of pain and the pursuit of happiness. And I'll further tell you that you own the responsibility for both. No one can make you unhappy. No one but yourself. No one can make you happy. but yourself. No one can make you bored, tired, sad, jealous, but yourself. I know it's not the message that many want to hear. It's not a message that lands well on some, but wait a minute, my life would be so much better if my boss would just understand me, if my wife could just get me, if my children would just listen to me. I have so much to give them. Why can't they just pay attention, right? If that guy didn't run the red light and plow into me on the car, my day would have been great. It's his fault. With great justification, it would seem. We have lots of reasons to be justified in blaming the outer circumstances until you come to realize that those outer circumstances are going to change. But what was happening inside you hasn't. I know for myself, I was raised in that culture, as many of you were, to go to college, get smart, get a degree, get a job, make lots of money, have a house, a wife, kids, retire at 65, you're done. And I chased that dream in so many different ways, and bless you. And each time that I reached a pinnacle in that process, I thought, is that it? And I would, okay, well, maybe the next time. And that one-bedroom house that I bought for the first house, and it was just too small. And then I got the two-bedroom, and it just didn't feel right. And then later I got the 5,000 square foot house I built on the beach in Malibu on 2 acres of land overlooking the ocean, something you would have thought would have made me happier than heck. And I'm going, why do I feel like this? And I got the car, and then somebody scratched it, and I got angry. There was just no end to it until I ended it and said, Now, I still enjoy the material world. I think it's a wonderful thing. I care for this body. I'm pushing 68 years. I want this chassis to carry me to the finish line. I don't want to stay in it a minute longer than I need to. But it's for him to decide. And I enjoy a nice home and a wonderful, loving relationship with a life partner and a nice car and all of these things. I enjoy being able to go to India or Bali or Hawaii, as we will in a few weeks, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it doesn't define who I am. It doesn't make my happiness. If all of this went away tomorrow, I wouldn't shed a tear. I learned as I started to realize that there was more, and I got on the path toward that. It was the 60s, and part of that journey was, having experiences that were out of body, beyond the mind. I won't go into some of those details, but many of us had those kinds of experiences. And then we went off to India, my first trip in the mid-70s, and we would go seek the masters, and you found most of them were worse off than you were. And then I spent some time in China and in Shaolin and the Temple of 10,000 Buddhas for a couple of months, chanting with the Buddhist monks and studying Buddhism, and I studied Zen, and I was kind of fascinated by some of that because it was so like physics was for me, quantum physics. I just couldn't wrap my mind around it, and I looked at Sufism. I grew up a Catholic. I went through all the isms that there were, trying to experience each of these. And I ended up realizing that all of them had something to offer. But I was zigzagging from one stream to another, jumping from one canoe, riding in it for a moment, then jumping out of that one into another one and riding that, and jumping into another and riding that. All of those canoes were going to land in the ocean, but I was moving sideways until I found Yogananda. In that canoe, I landed in the 70s, and I said, I'm staying here. For better or worse. It didn't mean that the others were wrong or bad or better. It's just I had to choose one that would get me there quickest. Rather than zigzagging, I wanted to go direct. And so it was. I needed a guide from one who had become freed of the limitations of ego and self-definition. If you want to learn to play the piano, sure, go on YouTube. You can get the material there. You can read a book. You can dance across a keyboard. But your best bet is to get a master pianist. You want to climb Mount Everest? You better be careful about what guide you choose. It's life or death. Many will tell you, yeah, I'll lead you up that mountain. So you have to be careful who you choose. But when you're ready, that teacher will manifest for you. Because you'll be tuning your consciousness and opening and awakening. And now you're ready. And Guruji said, be awake and ready. And when he came into my life, I didn't quite get him for many years. I read autobiography, I don't know how many times now. I get it, but I didn't for 10 years. I practiced Kriya for a number of years before I could really do a Kriya. Hong Saw in the spine, hearing the Om in Om meditation with my Om board, all of these techniques, I had to make them my own, and it was through dedication and devotion and the grace of God and the guidance of the Guru. The other thing that I had to learn to do was lighten my load as I was going down that journey. I had to get rid of the stuff. I had to get rid of the baggage. Material baggage, emotional baggage, intellectual baggage, even some spiritual baggage. I had to empty myself. Master would say, if you want to hold the ocean, you can't do it with just a cup. You better empty what you've got there. For me, because I'm a Jnana yogi, I'm one who's into wisdom and knowledge. And so my degree was in physics, and I studied quantum electrodynamics, a word that some have trouble even saying. I comprehend the world in those realms and have danced in technology for 50 years. So I get all of that intellectually. But I really didn't comprehend until I let go of all of that. I had to literally move away from the idea that if I read more, I was going to fill my brain with knowledge and I'd become smart. It had to happen for me the opposite. I had to empty my brain and tune my consciousness to the infinite. Now when I want to solve a problem, I meditate. I do. Before this satsang here, I was asked, so right, Susan, she says, Master called it spiritual indigestion. It was liberating for her to hear that, exactly what I was doing. I too, Susan, it's true. When you can come back here, now remember, in the 70s, and I'm back here from India. Oh my God, you've been to India? Yeah. What baggage I had, how long it took me to get rid of that. Long time. So be careful what you pick up along the way. Even the knowledge that you think you're gaining through a practice, a policy, a book, a poem, Empty yourself and tune to the divine. Talk to the Lord. Love God. Love Divine Mother. Talk to them in the language of your own heart. Practice the presence of the divine in everything you do, and you will find the answers will come to you. Before this satsang, I got an email from Hewlett Packard. I'm helping them on some strategic issues, and some are fairly complicated that I had recommended 2 days ago, and they came back and said, we don't quite get it. Would you mind outlining it in a kind of bullet form for us? And I'm trying to think, well, how do I bring a very complicated concept, which to me was so simple, to the ears that could hear it, in the frequencies they're vibrating in, yes? I had to ask Master. And I sat down. It took me an hour and a half to type it up, but I did. And I came here and did the satsang. They probably haven't even received the email yet. But it was his. I was the hands to type. I was the mind with the, I dialed in to tune in, as Einstein did, to receive this truth. He didn't come up with any of that. He never took credit for anything that he did. Relativity, special or general, he didn't take credit for any of that. He said, the deeper I go into the cosmos, the closer to God I feel. He wanted to understand the unity of all of it. The unified field theory, they would call it. We call it Om. The vibratory sound of creation. How simple is that for us? How simple? I hear it, not through these ears, but the inner ear. I feel it in the heart of my divine feeling. The intuitive mind connected to the heart. We live that. And remember, this journey is one of self-discovery. It can be lonely. That's why satsang is so important, isn't it? Why do we come together like this? So I get a chance to tune to the gurus here. They're whispering in my ear right now of exactly what to say. I sat here today, I made some notes, and I asked them, what am I going to say tonight? I don't want to fill anyone's head with garbage. There's enough of that in the world. What is it that I could give anyone? Tell me. This is what he's asking me to share. And I'm listening to it as it's coming out of my mouth. I'm going, oh my God, thank you. That's great. Yeah, I understand that, right? It's true. That's what satsang is. We get a chance to come together, and we get a chance to tune into that higher reality, and it comes through us, and we share it with each other. We're not moving through space and time in a linear sense, as life would suggest, right? Years go by, the solar thing, one more time around the sun. If we aren't connected to something beyond that linear, if we're not connected into the infinite, non-local, quantum verse, then we're not connected to anything. But the limitations of our own mind, the limitations of the physical body, the pain and suffering that comes with all of that, the polarizing arguments of I'm right because you're wrong, and I'm tall because you're short, and I'm too fat, or I'm too skinny, or I'm not smart enough, or I'm too smart, or I'm rich, you're poor. I'm a Republican, you're a Democrat. Yes, I voted. Please vote.
Early. Only 2 weeks away. So.
Vote early. Vote once. I don't care how you vote. Just vote. Our voice is important. It's part of what this great country of ours was built upon. And it's a good voice, it's a human voice, it's an honest voice, an authentic voice. It needs to be that. Anything less is temporary. Once we make these discoveries that these great masters are sharing with us tonight, that we are more than the physical, that we are the infinite soul, seeking to reunite our consciousness, moving away from the bundles of self-definition that we've created lifetime after lifetime, and freeing ourselves from that baggage to become light enough to rise up to the highest frequencies and unite ourselves with that consciousness, we'll know true freedom. We'll know happiness. We'll know health. We can cure ourselves, we can cure others. We can bring a vibration into this world that is uplifting. As Jesus said, it's not enough just to love ourselves. We have to love each other as ourselves. Once we have made that, life truly begins. And it's a life beyond birth, a life beyond death. It's a life that no one can take from you. No one can make you unhappy. No one can make you sad. No one can ever destroy that life. Tune in to that thrill of that soul call that's vibrating all the time. That frequency beyond the limitations of the two ears. Go inward. Silence the mind. Draw all the energy from the five sense instruments and direct it up to the point between the eyebrows. The point of highest awareness in the physical body. And become one with who you truly are. Made in the image of the divine, you are no less important. As individual as you are, as unique as you are no less important than the cosmos itself. Don't listen to yourself say anything less. You deserve to be happy. You deserve to be whole. You deserve to be well. You deserve everything. And it's within your reach. It's within you. Look inward. And when you need help, call on the masters. I don't care what your path is. Catholic, Jew, Christian, Muslim, Hindu, Zen, Sikh. Doesn't matter. I don't subscribe to a religion. I subscribe to a relationship with the divine, the creator of all that is. That which I was made in that image. I want to live from that place. And so we'll meditate a little time together here tonight. We'll get maybe 15 minutes and we'll do a chant. I am the bubble, make me the sea. And we'll take that into our meditation and remember that thou and I never apart. dissolves in the sea. Wave of the sea dissolves in the sea. I am the Mama, make me the sea. I am the Mama, make me the sea. Make me the sea, Mother, make me the sea. Make me the sea, oh, make me the sea. Wave of the sea dissolves in the sea. Wave of the sea dissolves in the sea. Oh, I am the Mama, make me the sea. 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 So thou my Lord, so thou my Lord, I am the Mama, make me the sea. Let's sit upright, lengthen our spines to allow the free flow of energy through that energy body of ours. Opening the shoulders, keeping the chin level with the floor as we lift our gaze to the point between the eyebrows, the seat of highest awareness in the physical body. And join me with your hands in pranam over the heart as we open our heart to the devotion of our meditation with this prayer. Heavenly Father, Mother, Friend, beloved God, great masters of self-realization, saints and sages of all religions, humbly we bow before you. Divine Mother, may our hearts be open, our minds be clear, that we may become ever more perfect channels to share your love and light in this world with all whom we meet. Join us in our meditation. Help us feel our oneness with Thee. Bring us home. Om Shanti, Shanti. Amen. The hands gently placed on the thighs, drawn toward the junction of thigh and abdomen. Roll your shoulders back gently to just releasing any tension you might be holding in the shoulder blades. Feeling the heart opening as you do, expanding the chest. Begin to tune to your breath. The gaze uplifted, just notice also the abdomen extending out as you inhale and collapsing back toward the back of your spine as you exhale. Inhaling deeply and exhaling completely. With each inhalation breath, drawing that life force up to the point between the eyebrows with a mental and silent mantra of your choice, any word or words that speak to your heart. It could be thou and I are never apart. Thou and I are never apart. And with each breath, drawing that life force up through the heart, the throat as you speak to God, lifting it to the point between the eyebrows, and releasing it as you let go of all tension, all anxiety, all fear, all doubt. Inhaling all the positive aspects of your divine nature: love, peace, joy, wisdom. Exhaling all the negative aspects that are no longer serving your best and highest interests. And watch that breath for a few minutes as you go deeply inward. The gaze uplifted, drawing all that life force to the point between the eyebrows. And with the heat of your own devotion, building that fire, that spiritual eye. And allowing that fire to dissolve the fog of delusion that limits your view, your vision, your experience of your own divine nature. As you go deeply into your meditation, ignoring all the outer circumstances, the sights, the sounds, the feelings, let them go. Just let them pass by as you remain focused inward, tuning your consciousness to the divine consciousness. Thou and I are never apart. Wave of the sea dissolves in the sea. I am the bubble. Make me the sea. Enjoy the balance of our short 10-minute meditation in silence. remaining in a meditative state, the eyes closed and the gaze uplifted, but begin now to visualize any in your life in need of healing, in need of kindness, in need of your conscious cosmic energy, and bring their image to the point between the eyebrows. See them healthy, happy, surrounded with the white healing light of your consciousness. And with their image, the point between the eyebrows, bringing your hands in pranam over the heart and join me in this healing prayer. Divine Mother, Thou art omnipresent. Thou art in all thy children. Manifest thy healing presence in these bodies, minds, and souls. Having the hands together, send out on the waves of 3 ohms, conscious cosmic healing energy to those in need for healthy bodies. For healthy minds. And for divinely awakened souls. Send your love and light out into the world, that everyone may feel the presence of love and light in their lives. Join me in our closing prayer. Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, friend, beloved God, Lord Jesus Christ, Bhagavan Krishna, Mahavatar Babaji, Lahiri Mahashaya, and Swami Shri Yukteswar, Paramahansa Yogananda, saints and sages of East and West, humbly we bow before you. Divine Mother, may your love shine forever on the sanctuary of our devotion, and may we be able to awaken that love in hearts everywhere. Om Shanti, Shanti. Amen. Namaste. For those online here and for the recording, I'm going to stop the recording. I just want to thank you for watching, for joining. We'll stick around for a moment after I stop the recording. So if you'd like, hang for just a moment. But again, if you choose to, you're watching the recording, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Join Anka and I anytime to follow the events we have on our website at Casey and Anka. That's CASEYANDANKE.net. You can also get there through Ananda Encinitas. You can get there through Encinitas meditation, release into bliss. All of them lead to the same path. And again, thank you for being here with us. May God bless you in each and every day. And remember, with whatever you do, practice the presence of the divine that's within you. Blessings.